Hello everyone, this is Kaylee from Nerdy Birdie Adventures, and I'm here again with another comic roundup. I am hoping to try and make these videos every week, but sometimes my schedule can be a bit of a mess, so I'm not going to commit to a certain day of every week, but I'm going to do my best to get myself into a schedule of actually filming these every week. So, I was out of town last week. I wasn't at home, so I have a couple of weeks worth of comics to catch up with. And so I'm gonna be catching up on a couple of weeks worth of comics today, and I didn't get my entire comic book order this week, so a couple of comics that I actually ordered this week that came out this week I will be probably talking about next week when I can pick them up. So with that being said, I'm going to jump into last week's comics first and then go into this week's. Okay. So the first of last week's comics that I picked up that I'm going to talk about is this one. This is issue 2 of My Adventures with Superman. So this is a connecting story between season 1 of the show on Max and season 2. So this is something that takes place between season 1 and season 2. This focuses on, I think it's Metallo. Yeah, I think it's Metallo. It's either Metallo or Amazo. It's been a while since I read issue 1, and I don't know why my brain will not hold on to this information, but okay. So it's the Amazo robot. So I think this story is focusing on the Amazo robot, who in issue number 1 came and asked Superman for help. So Superman is trying to help, and he's trying to help in this issue in the form of Clark Kent, because the base that the Amazo robot is being held at is preparing for Superman, is preparing for Superman to appear, is not expecting Clark Kent. So this is their breaking and entering into an army base, essentially. If you've watched My Adventures with Superman, you'll kind of know that's almost Clark, Lois, and Jimmy's thing in that show. So it's continuing with that. It's issue 2, so the story is still really kind of forming, and there's a bit of a cliffhanger at the end, I suppose. And we get to see some of Slade in this issue too. So Slade is here, and he is being his usual antagonistic self. As a side note, I'm really confused by the design for Slade in My Adventures with Superman. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. That's not me saying I have a problem with it. I'm just always weirded out when he is portrayed as a younger man, but I think I'm so used to him being older that it just always strikes me as a little bit odd. That being said, though, the Dark Knights of Steel All-Winter, that features a much older Slade, and I'm really looking forward to that coming out. Okay, so the next comic that I picked up last week is The Boy Wonder. This is the variant cover. Oh no, this is the Junie Ba cover. So this is The Boy Wonder by Junie Ba, who is both the artist and the writer for this comic. This is issue 3. I really have been enjoying this run. Issue 2 is my favorite, obviously, because that's the one that focuses around Red Hood, but I liked this too. So this is Damian's interaction and kind of little mini adventure with Tim, his third brother. So obviously issue 1 was Nightwing, issue 2 Red Hood, issue 3 Tim Drake, aka he goes by Red Robin in this one. So yeah, and it's a really cute little, so obviously if you've been reading this, Damian is trying to track down a demon. So he is now at a high society party with Tim, still trying to find that same demon. And so it's a little bit of a look into his bond with Tim. This comic does follow the thing of them not getting along with each other very well, which makes their dynamic a little bit more interesting. Damian has a bit of an antagonistic relationship with all of his brothers in this run so far. But I'm really enjoying this run. It's been a really good characterization of Damian, and the art style is really cute. It's really cute, and it's different, but it's good different kind of thing. So yeah, definitely recommend this one if you are a fan of Damian. I do recommend checking out this run if you want to. It is a Black Label run, so it doesn't exist within canon, but it's still really good. All of the boys have been characterized really well so far. So, all right. So the next two comics that I'm going to talk about tie into the beginning of the summer event, Absolute Power, which is, you know, if you read DC Comics, has been building for a little bit. We've been building to this point. The first one I'm going to talk about is Batman number 150. So Batman 150 is an Absolute Power tie-in. I would recommend, if you picked up both of these and you haven't read them yet, I would recommend reading Absolute Power number 1, then reading this, because what's kind of happening in this is going to make more sense if you read Absolute Power number 1 first. But the whole comic itself is actually not the tie-in to Absolute Power. So this issue of Batman resolves a plot point that was brought up at the end of the Gotham War, if you remember or don't want to remember that. Yeah, so it ties up a loose end from that, which is kind of, it's basically someone discovering Batman's identity and trying to figure out what they can do with that information. And while they are going through that, they are hearing anecdotal information about who Batman is as a character and who he is as a person. And then obviously he gets to find Batman. And then the very last part is the tie-in with Absolute Power, but I would still recommend just reading the comic as a whole after you read Absolute Power number 1. Speaking of Absolute Power number 1, that's the other comic. I just have the A cover. So yeah, so this is Absolute Power number 1. This is the beginning of the main part of the summer event. So one of the comics I picked up this week but don't have yet is Task Force 7, which is kind of the direct tie-in with Absolute Power that follows the Amazer robots that Amanda Waller unleashes with the help of Failsafe. So yes, basically Absolute Power is Amanda Waller going around and taking the basically she's stealing the superpowers from the metahumans. She is depowering the metahumans and rounding up the heroes under the guise of protecting the people, under the guise of protecting humanity, which, if you know anything about Amanda Waller, is absolute crap. She doesn't care about protecting humanity. She thinks humanity is stupid. She just wants to control. She just doesn't like what she can't control. Or at least that's how I've always perceived Amanda Waller's character. She likes to be in control, and she doesn't like that there are forces in the world that she can't control, and she doesn't know what their intentions are, or she can't control what their intentions are. So yeah, there's a lot of action in this particular issue. Definitely recommend it if you're like a big fan of the Trinity, like Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. It's going to be interesting to see how everyone deals with this kind of devastating event that happens. I've heard some things, like I don't keep up to date with a lot of comic book opinions, or kind of people analyzing comic books outside of me, I'll be completely honest. But I've heard that some good things are going to come out of this run for Nightwing especially, so I'm looking forward to how they're going to develop people's characters. And my partner is also particularly invested in this run because it features heavily around Green Arrow, and Green Arrow is their favorite character, so we're also super interested in seeing what happens with him. But that is it for the comics I picked up last week, so now I'm going to get into the comics that I picked up this week. I only have 2, but I have 2 covers for 1 issue, so I'm going to show you both the covers. The first one is this one. This is Batman and Robin number 11. I really like this. I really like this run. I really like the dynamic between Bruce and Damian in this run. I've really been enjoying it. So this is the start of their new story arc. The last issue was them taking down Man-Bat and everyone that was working, and the cult of Man-Bat, without harming any of the bats, which is absolutely good for them. We like that they didn't hurt any of the animals. But so this focuses on Batman and Robin going to Dinosaur Island after finding out at the end of issue 10 that that's where Bane is. I'm pretty sure everyone knows by now that obviously Bane killed Alfred during the City of Bane arc. He broke Alfred's neck, so yeah. So naturally Damian is wanting to get revenge on Bane, which is a pretty common theme with a couple of the members of the Bat family, because Jason, I think in Task Force X, was pretty darn set on getting Bane too. So I almost hope that Jason makes an appearance in this run, because I'd like to see him work with Damian and Bruce on getting Bane and kind of overcoming him and Damian kind of overcoming their need to get that kind of revenge, as Bruce would want. Okay, so the last comic that I'm going to talk about today is probably the one I've been looking forward to the most, because I don't know, I just did, and it is this one here. So I have this cover, and then I got a variant cover variant cover is by Mick Mignola, and I really enjoy Mick Mignola's art. I'm a big Hellboy fan, so I really like that Mick Mignola did a cover for this. But yeah, so this is Death in the Family, Robin Lives. So this basically is the path that the comic would have taken if DC fans had voted for Jason to live in 1988 instead of voting for him to be killed off. So this is kind of where the story would have gone if that had happened. So Jason is... poor baby. So this does start out... it's not a super huge spoiler or anything. It does start out with the death of the Joker. But the mystery is what happened to the Joker. It's one of those kind of cold open things. And obviously dealing with, so Jason wakes up from the coma he was in at the end of Robin Lives, which was kind of a one-shot that was put out end of last year, that was the vault comic that had been put away, that would have been released instead of his death. So he's out of his coma now, and he's hurting. And Bruce very clearly does not know how to handle the way in which Jason is hurting, which I think is pretty typical for Bruce, especially Bruce at that time if you look at how he handled Jason's death. I'm curious to see where it's gonna go, how the relationship, especially between Bruce and Jason, is gonna change. I wonder if they're going to go with it. As far as I'm aware, this is a four-part mini-series. It's not gonna be very long. So I'm curious to see where it's going to be at the end, and if they're still going to try and steer Jason towards Red Hood, or if something else is going to happen. Now, if they do a rug pull and Jason ends up dead at the end of this series, I'm going to be a little bit annoyed, because that's going to feel cheap. The whole point of Robin Lives is it's like, don't make that fate inevitable for him, because that's cheap. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I don't think that's where it's going to go. I'm just putting it out there. If that's where it does go, I'm not going to be very happy about it, but that's okay. That's okay. But anyway, that is all of the comics I had to talk about. I have quite a few, I think, to pick up next week. What was the other comic that I needed to pick up? I can't actually remember. I know the first one is the first issue of Task Force 7, or Task Force like B11, but it's 7 in Roman numerals. So Task Force 7, and oh, I cannot remember what the other comic I need to pick up is. Oh, the Kryptonian Age issue 2. So Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Age number 2. That's the other issue, the other comic book issue that I needed to pick up. So I will talk about those in my video next week. If you like this video, give it a like. Leave a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested. I am still playing around with different videos to make, but I'm just having fun with it. But until next time, stay nerdy, my friends. Bye.